thank you all to who have come onto this Zoom. First of all, Yapalingana Lotrawita, Yapalingana. Hello and welcome from Tasmania, and hello and welcome to you all from wherever you may be sitting. And yeah, so my presentation is a little bit different. It's about how Circular Head Aboriginal Corporation, and throughout the presentation I'll refer to it as CHAC. Another thing I need to do is acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're all meeting on today, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I would just like to say there's a few familiar faces that I can see on the screen. Michelle, hello. Lane, hello. And I'm not real sure of anybody else, but anyway. So from little things, big things grow. From little seeds grow big trees. And this is how the Circular Head Aboriginal Corporation, CHAC, commenced in 1994. A group of ladies at this particular time decided to all come together, and they wanted to learn a little bit more about the cultural values and the cultural significance in our particular area. And being on the far, far northwest coast of Tasmania, there's a lot of Aboriginal significance there. So they decided to band together, and they come up with a small group that wanted to look at their own cultural knowledge, to gain their own cultural knowledge, but also to find out more about the history in the area. And so from there, it started. It was the group were meeting in a little room at the back of a dentist building in one of the streets in Smithton, which was a 2-room unit, very, very small. And it wasn't too long before that that accommodation that just outgrew. There was only 2 staff members at the time, and they were delivering services which were their home and community care and a adult alcohol and drug service. So in 2002, the present building in King Street, Smithton, was granted to CHAC by the ATSIC Board of Directors, and that now occupies 20 staff, which run a whole range of different services. At that particular time, there was only 4 staff that was on the payroll, so to speak, with a few volunteers. It wasn't long before the staff, the 4 staff, started turning into double figures. So it was about getting some funding to come through the door to be able to deliver services. CHAC have a very unique way of acquiring their funding. First of all, they talk to the community about the community needs and what those community needs would look like as far as funding streams go. And so therefore we were able to identify that the population of Circular Head at that particular time had a very large population of ageing people. So it was obviously identified that we needed to bring together and strengthen the already home and community care program. So we did that, and it is open for not only Aboriginal clients in the community, but also for the non-Aboriginal community too. And I feel that CHAC has a unique position in the community, even though a lot of the funding is based on Aboriginal clientele. There's always that smaller percentage that we can actually assist the non-Aboriginal community. So it actually brings out that transparency and that openness of being able to support people in the community that do not identify. So just going through some of the programs just briefly. So I've already mentioned the home and community care and the Commonwealth Home Support Program, which basically that's split by the home and community care as well because of the different age groups. Just recently, in probably the last 12 months, we've been able to gain and access my aged care packages, which have been really, really valuable to the community that need that, because there's a whole range of different services that we can, you know, bring into those homes. We've got a youth justice program that manages and assists young people from the age of 10 right through to 24. And we've also got an adult through care program, which is about prisoner rehabilitation and bringing those people that have been incarcerated back into the community in a very, very positive manner. Now, Circular Head Aboriginal Corporation, CHAC, is the only organisation in Tasmania to run this program, and approximately 4 or 5 years ago they were chosen out of 3 program delivery across the nation to showcase the actual work that had been done. So from that particular event, we were then able to remodel the project so that it's not just the people that are incarcerated that we can support the whole family. So that means that we can, you know, take the family, children out on country, which is really, really important for healing and for their knowledge around their own cultural identity. And so that's been one of the most successful programs. CHAC also are an NDIS agent, so we are able to assist people that are coming onto NDIS plans to find the support that they need. And because it's client-based, it's really interesting to see exactly, you know, who the clients want to choose as their providers and their support workers. So that's really interesting. Child safety services. So we're all about keeping kids in their homes and not having them removed. And so we work really hard to try and keep these kids, if it's not with their biological parents, at least with extended family or within the community, because more times than enough they're taken away from the community, and then they lose that support network, but they also lose that community attachment. And we have an integrated team care, which is about supporting people of all ages with chronic illnesses or with multiple chronic illnesses. And part of that program is an outreach. So we've got people that can transport our clients through to main hospitals such as Launceston, which is a 3-hour trip, or to Hobart, which is a 5-hour one-way trip. So we found that particular service is really, really important. We also have Mums and Bubs, which is about teaching young, vulnerable mothers and fathers to care for their children, to give them those first 1,000 days of their life is the most important. So it's about instilling in them just how important it is to, you know, to raise children and the importance of it. Our cultural program is always on the go, so they're always out collecting kelp, string for basket weaving, shell collecting. They even go as far as getting some traditional foods to bring back on to events that are held, cultural events that are held throughout the year. And that seems to be a very well program that a lot of community members and not only community but people from all over Tasmania are wanting to come and see the culture, because Circular Head is very, very rich in culture. We also have an amazing Learner Drive program, which is a program where we have a lot of volunteers that will drive a car, which was purchased by CHAC, to mentor young people that have already got their learner's license, but they haven't got anybody in the home to actually, that has a car that will take them out driving to get their hours ready for them to go on to the next stage. And over the 4 years that we've had that program in place, we have actually been able to assist quite a lot of people to get their licence, and that also coincides with a learner driver assist. So we've got trained workers, trained staff that will actually sit down with people that can't understand the computer testing at Service Tas, and so we can sit down with those young people and older people to go through the learner licence test in a much more relaxed, culturally safe arena, because what we found was a lot of people would go up to do their learner's licence at Service Tas, fail the first time, get really, really embarrassed, lose that bit of confidence, and then they would find that they didn't really want to go back. So we were able to offer that. And I know when I was actually one of the testers, I had put 226 people through that particular program to go forward and get their license. So that was a really good part of the program, was just to see these people coming in. And I know of one person that was 62 years old that had never ever gone and got their license or had the confidence to go and get it, and they come in, they breezed through their learner's license, and I thought, I'm pretty sure these people have been driving before, because they just knew it all. And you know, 6-7 months later, they come in with their license, and they were just so grateful, because that then gave them a new lease on life. It gave them an opportunity for independence. They could get about and see family. They didn't have to rely on other people to get them to where they needed to go. But most of all, they were actually able to get in their car and drive out to the country, to where maybe it could have been to where they were born or raised, and it just sort of brightened their spirits up immensely. We have quite a few social emotional wellbeing projects, and one of those that really stand out for me was one where I actually took the circle, and they were people a mixed gender, and they were between the ages of 55 and 72, and they were the most amazing group. They were so honest. Some of the conversations were very raw, but at the end of the 6-week session, they were able to say that they had been holding a lot of that stuff in for many, many years, and they felt trusting of the group, because it was a very small group as well, to be able to bring that to the surface and to be able to deal with them. And today, even though I don't work for CHAC, I still keep in contact with them on a regular basis, because it's, to me, we built a family around this circle. We also have a health service, which we have a whole list of allied health professionals that come in, some weekly, some fortnightly, some monthly, and some 3 monthly. But it's about addressing, you know, we've got a podiatrist, a psychologist, 2 psychologists actually, a dietitian, an exercise physiologist, a dermatologist, and, you know, there's not much that we don't have. So we're pretty proud. I'm pretty proud that, you know, we were able to set this up and that was just, I'll just step back a bit. When I first commenced my work with CHAC, I started off in just working in the services on the ground, because I'm a people's person. And from there, when I was offered the position of CEO, I took that and thought, oh, you know, like, what am I going to do? Because I'm so used to working in the community and, you know, working hands-on. But I give it my best shot. So I stuck at the CEO role for 7.5 years. And in that time, I had a goal. I had 3 goals, actually. The first goal was to have a fully functioning health centre. and I achieved that goal. So I was more than happy to walk away at that time because I knew that I had achieved it. Secondly was we needed land because we had never had any land, and so I put in a pretty big submission. We got some land, we got 16.5 acres, and we use that land now as a meeting place. It's called Tromana, which is our place, and we have a community garden out there, but we also have men's groups and women's groups. We have a little memorial, a memorial part where people can just go and sit and reflect, especially around the elders that have passed. And the third one was to be a part of the dual naming process, which I've just been through. So we're able to bring some language back into our community. And then it was the 3 goals were achieved, and I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I don't know. So I had to set some more goals. So I set another goal to actually own all the land on the corner of our main building, to across the road and up a bit and then across again. And now we own basically what I call the pyramid square of King Street in Smithton. It's sort of like a mini empire, but not forgetting, of course, that, you know, we have become a little bit business-like in a sense where, you know, we are gaining income from NDIS and child safety services, but never ever to lose focus of what the organisation was set up for in the first place. And I think that's really, really important, because if you set up something such as CHAC, you set it up for a purpose, and that purpose to me has been, I know that I've fulfilled that purpose, but I don't want to lose hindsight of, you know, somebody else coming in and changing it to a business-like project, because that's not what it is. It's about servicing the community of Circular Head, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people. So my time at CHAC was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It was a very hard task. I was managing, close to the end of my time, I was managing 42 staff members. Most of them were female, so there was a lot of different personalities and so forth, and very, very few male. But I'm slowly, as the chair, trying to change that so that I can encourage more males to come into that workforce. I think too that I sit on the Tasmanian Regional Aboriginal Communities Alliance group, which is made up of 7 different Aboriginal organisations across Tasmania, and we meet every second month where we actually discuss what's going on in our community and how we can make improvements, and we are then a voice back to the state government, which has been a really, really successful alliance group. Just recently, we were able to bring the Aboriginal Legal Services back to Tasmania, and that was by Tracker forming a legal entity which is now called TOWS. And so they actually had their launch today in Hobart with the ministers, etc. So I had to zoom in there before I zoomed into this one, and then it was, oh wow, I better do something before I have to zoom into the next one. But I'm grateful for what I've learned and for how I've grown being in this position. But I'd just like to share a little story about a young Aboriginal woman that was diagnosed with cancer. And she had a whole heap of wishes that, you know, how she wanted to, where she wanted to pass and how she wanted her funeral set out. And mind you, through talking to her, a lot of it at that particular time wasn't legal, but we decided to be a bit creative and felt that, you know, her wishes are the most important wishes at this particular time. So she wanted to stay in her home, which she did, and every day, like, nurses would come in, but they would only be in for a short time, and then we as a community and carers took over some of those roles, you know, helping her with her bathing and, you know, combing her hair and doing her nails, all that sort of stuff. And being a strong Aboriginal woman, she was a painter, an artist, and she learnt a lot of her skills from the desert. And so she wanted to bring that, some of that art into the organisation. Even when she was, you know, only days away from passing, she still wanted to continue to do some painting. So even though, you know, we could see she was struggling, we still allowed her to do that. And we'd be holding up canvases and, you know, bringing paint bottles to her, all that sort of stuff. And when she, before she finally passed, she had some words to say, and one of those words was, "I want to be taken out of this room in a box that's been painted by every single community member. I want them to put their signature or something that resembles them on my box." And obviously we couldn't get every community member to do that, but what we did do was we gathered a whole heap of people, and they would go in one by one and they would paint their symbol. Some of them would write a little poem on her box. And so once that was done, it was an absolutely beautiful, beautiful way. But what she did want is that she wanted to be carried out on the back of a ute with some of the community members on the back of the ute with her, with the Aboriginal flag flying as she was going down that flying mile, so she called it. So, you know, for her, it was dying with that dignity and dying with the wishes that, you know, she was, you know, pretty well highly drugged up with, you know, all the medications that they were giving her, but she still had focus on how she wanted to go. And she was always a very vibrant, cheeky woman. And she used to always have this saying, and it was rally, rally, rally. And I never ever got why she was saying that, but now I know, because how she went out, it was rally, rally, rally. She went out with everything that she desired, you know, and I guess for me, it brings me to that palliative care. Like I was listening to Alan on the very first session, how he said that palliative care isn't always about the patient, it's about the carers and the people around, you know, around you at that particular time. And I would not have thought about that if I hadn't have listened to his session, because that's exactly what this young person did. She wanted to go out, and that's the way she went. But also, you know, I've had discussions with some of my staff and some of the community, like, they don't want to die in a hospital. They want to die at home. They want to die in their environment, and they want that environment to be how they want it, not how some clinical, sterile, you know, setting. They want to be comfortable, but they also want to die knowing that they've died the way they want to die. And I think that, to me, is a really, really important thing to note. So I've actually experienced my own stepdaughter passing, and she was 23, but she did die in the hospital, and that's something that she didn't want, but her dad wanted the best care for her. But before she passed, she granted me and my husband her 4-year-old son. So he's been in our care now for 10 years. And 3 weeks prior to her passing, I packed up and moved through to where the hospital was, and thought, well, every minute that she can have in that window, I want her to be there with her child. So that's what I did. So for 3 weeks, I was running ragged, just going from my accommodation to the hospital, and sometimes that'd be 20 times a day. But I did that because that's what she wanted to do. But also, she called everybody in one by one, and she gave them instructions. My instructions were, I know you'll take care of Tanner. I want you to prepare me for my funeral. But if you put bright lipstick on me, I'm going to come back and haunt you. So I was very, very careful on the lipstick that I had to put on her after she'd passed. But to me, that wasn't a sad moment. It was a memory for me. And I know that, you know, she has passed knowing that everything that she wanted has been fulfilled. And even her little boy, who he's now 14, we talk about her like she's still here. And I think that's where he has managed to overcome his time of grief, because he was able to grieve prior to her passing. And that's another important factor, is to allow people to be a part of that process. And, you know, but I just thought it would be interesting to share that story with you, because it is, you know, it makes a lot of difference for somebody knowing that they can pass peacefully and not have the hustle and bustle of things that they don't want. So, yeah, that's about all I have, unless there's any questions.